when it comes to comedy, have you ever at a point where there's highs and lows of every job or every profession that you do, right? Comedy is a whirlwind. What kind of highs did you experience during comedy, and what kind of lows did you experience?
Well, yeah, comedy is a weird thing that you don't really know what's going to happen till you get into it. Like, you don't understand all the behind the scenes drama and obnoxiousness that's behind the scenes. It's not just funny dudes hanging out, telling jokes, having a good time. It's very political and stuff like that. So I guess the one of the worst times for me was probably just getting into the politics, starting to not like people, get taken off shows for certain reasons. I mean,
No, I've heard stories about comedians being very cutthroat and very nice to your face, but at the same time stealing your jokes,
oh yeah,
going
absolutely.
behind your back, trashing your style while being nice to your face. A lot of two-faced stuff going on.
Yep, that's about, yeah, that's a lot of it, which is unfortunate. But you just hang around a good crew. I have a good crew, dudes that I'm going to be friends with for the rest of my life. Those dudes are real people on stage and off, and that's who I hang out with, and that's kind of who you keep in your circle and just watch who you let in. So
Would you say that you had to have a thick skin to get into comedy, or would you say that you developed a thick skin after you got into comedy?
definitely developed one for sure. Like
It's almost
I
like prison.
it's like prison except for the good sex. So you take the good sex out of it, that's comedy right there. So
So, the highs and lows of comedy, like, tell me about some characters that you met along the way that influenced you. They don't have to be famous or anything, but tell me about some times where you had turning points in your comedy career, and tell me about the people involved.
yeah, I mean, if you look at, and unfortunately you can look at it, and I don't want anyone to ever look at it, but if you go on YouTube, you can see my early stand up from when I was like 3 months in, and it's it's straight garbage. I can't stand it now, but that's every comedian. They can't look back at their old stuff and be proud of it because it's so, we don't know what we're doing. We're figuring stuff out. But about 4 months in, I thought, like, if you watch those videos, I'm so cocky and there's just no reason for it. But one night, a guy pulled me aside and said, "Hey, we have this competition going on for a prize, money prize, I believe." And he's like, "I'd like you to be in it. I saw your set. I really like you to be in it." So I go and I do the actual show, and I ended up placing third that night, which was crazy because I was so new to the game and I didn't think I was good enough or whatever. But it was me, and then a buddy that I had performed with got second, and then another guy got first. And the guy that got first just went to the stage and just talked about how much he hated competitions and all this stuff like that, but like in the funniest way you could imagine. And after, when they were tallying up the votes and everything like that, I went up to him and I said, "Hey man, loved your set." Shout out to Chris Slichting, by the way, that's who it is. But I he was doing so well, and it was such a funny set, had me dying. And I walked up to him and I was like, "Hey man, that was a super awesome set." And he goes, "Whoa, you really mean that?" And I was like, well, yeah. What do you mean? Well, after you get in comedy a certain amount of time, you realize what have a good set actually means. If somebody comes up to you and says have a good set, they know you were on
Right,
stage.
right.
They never watched you. They don't remember anything. But hey, good job. I saw you. I acknowledge you. But I actually meant like, hey, I really like this joke and whatever. And he
So you
had
didn't
watched
come
my.
off as fake at all.
No, no,
So
and
you
I.
could tell.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And I was very real with him, and he was real back and had said, "Hey, I really like these jokes," or whatever. So at the end of the night, they announced the finalists to move on to the finals of that night, and it was me, my buddy, and Chris. And I'm pumped. My buddy's pumped. And Schlichting killed it. So like, there was he had to have known. He ended up winning the whole thing. But um, so this whole experience was when I got off stage and me and my buddy were celebrating us getting past it. The guy that ran the competition came up and went, "You better calm down. You were one vote away from not making it,"
Really.
and just shut my
What
confidence
was this
right
guy's
down.
role again?
He was the MC of the competition. He was the one that
Oh, the
had.
MC.
Yeah, he was the MC. He ran the competition. What the worst part about it was is he went, "You're lucky I didn't have enough spots to fill the competition, or you wouldn't even be here." So he didn't care about my set. He just needed bodies for the competition, and that's what I came for.
That is, I think, a superiority complex that a lot of MCs have. Like small time MCs. Like I remember when I went to a Bone Thugs and Harmony concert, and they had an MC out there, and the Bone Thugs and Harmony, they were late because apparently, and I don't know if this got made up by some 16-year-old pothead, but they were at Burger King getting food, and that's why they were late. And the whole time, this MC was just heckling us, saying we're the most worthless crowd ever. And he was even calling people's girls up on stage, like, you know, if she does this to me, I'll give you a bag of this. And he was being a dick.
Damn, yeah.
And we all wanted to just rush the stage and just like deliver his body to the Bone Thugs and be like, this is your guy?
Yeah,
this is your guy.
It might not have been. It might have been just a local guy that got that cut. That's what a lot of stuff does.
It was probably a local guy, right? And he was probably like mad because they were late and he had to like perform extra or something, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, I've looked at so ridiculous up there, and that's what happens. And I remember the MC, my first ever night performing at one of these clubs. It was like a late night club. I got off stage, felt great. All these people had never seen me before came up, said, "Oh, you did great," blah blah blah. And when I got off stage, he walked up to me. I remember this is probably like a month into it, and he hands me a note after my set, and I was like,
really?
And I was like,
how romantic.
What's this? And he goes, "These are all the jokes that you told, and this is everything you need to change about your set."
You got to be kidding me.
And it was just demoralizing. But basically what I did later was I just lit it on fire in front of my friends because they were like, "This is ridiculous."
I see cannibalization.
Yeah,
I see there's not enough room for all the animals to get to the water pool.
Yeah.
And they just got to start cutting corners.
It is. It's very cutthroat and it's stupid, but you know, but I mean, same thing the competition, the finals of that night, Schlichting goes up, murders it, just kills it. I go up there for, I think we had 8 or 10 minutes to do a set, and that was like all my material. I'm dumping all that I have for, you know, the last 3 months up there. And it was the quietest set I've ever had in my entire life. So it was a very humbling experience. And it's like, you need to write more. You're not up to this level yet. You need to try harder. And that's, you know, what happens. And then you get better or worse. So
what I'm kind of wondering is, how do you come out of that? Because I've had experiences like that before where someone just decides to come in and they notice that you're doing good and they see that and they feel it. And they're like, you know what? I would feel much better if this person just quit.
Yeah. Yeah, I did. I stopped. I didn't do it for 2.5 or 3 months. I didn't do a set. And then I can't remember if it was Chris Schlichting or if it was somebody else came up and said, "You can't let this, but you just need to get better. Like,
right.
You just got a reality check. Go get better." And then that's...
No, let's talk about what actually happened. I think you told me one time about how it was you had a hard road ahead of you. Someone kind of got you down in the dumps, and you just decided to kind of just hang out for a while instead of doing comedy.
Well, yeah, it was more of so what had happened was I had done it for about 5 or 6 years straight. Had done, you know, a lot of shows at some points. Had done not very many shows at some point. And one time I was supposed to be on the show with like 6 or 8 people. I can't remember at this. I can't remember where it was, but we were set up to do the show, and then about 2 hours before the show started, we were going to leave to go to the show. Somebody had texted me, the MC or the guy running the show, and he goes, "Hey, actually, I want you to headline, and I want you to do 20 minutes." Which I had done 20 minutes. I had done 30, you know, before, stuff like that.
Nice.
But for some reason, I was like writing new stuff, and I didn't know how it would go, and it got in my head, and I started just having problems breathing, and I was like shaking, and I was thinking like the worst stuff about myself, and I had to eventually call him and tell him to take me off the show. Like, "Hey man, I can't do it." And then I stopped doing it for about 2 months. And then when I had started writing again and wanted to go back up on stage, the night before I was going to go to an open mic and try stuff out, I had a nightmare about a heckler. Basically, a heckler had heckled me. I had came back at them. Nobody was on my side of it, and the whole crowd went after me.
Oh,
And
jeez, that never happens. Can you
Yeah.
imagine if the heckler had the same dream about you, and he was like, "Man, that was the best dream ever."
he's probably there. That's what I'm scared of. I don't want to show up and he's like, "You!" Like right when I get there, and I'm like, "Ah."
I wish you could like glitch someone in your like you see someone in your dream, you like glitch out your dream and just trap them in your dream forever. They never wake up. I wish we could do that.
If that would work for any person like that,
Any
this
person,
super
yeah.
hot girl that was at the grocery store in my dream, and I'm like, oh,
Well, so just hearing you talk about that, it kind of reminded me of something that happened recently, and you follow fighting a little bit, UFC, don't you? A little bit.
a little bit. Like,
So-
I know that Conor McGregor is a person.
Yeah, he is a real person, but he'll be a cyborg soon. As soon as they finish him.
I hope so.
What were we saying, John?
I don't know. So,
Here's
Like Kano in Mortal Kombat.
yeah, there you
yeah,
go.
yeah. My
Psy.
whole point was that something happened recently to Donald Cerrone where he was going to fight Conor McGregor, and if anyone knows Donald Cerrone, that guy is one of the toughest UFC athletes. He can be slower than the other guy and still take 100 punches and still win. So when he fought McGregor, you could tell that something didn't hit him right that week. He wasn't feeling normal. He even interviewed after the fight and said that, I've done this a million times, and some days or sometimes you just don't want to be there.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that, that happens to a lot of people at least once during their career, whether it be fighting or comedy or whatnot. And I don't really think that people should beat down on themselves for giving up like that. I think at some point you got to give up and see what it's like to give up, and then see what it's like to come back up.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what I did was I stopped for, a year, and then it was just all the time wanting to do it, wanting to go see shows, so watching shows, being like, man, I could go do a set right now, and I do well, and then eventually I've done probably a couple a year, and I was starting to get back into where I was going to start actually doing normal shows again, and then COVID happens, so we'll see. But it's just more time to write and